There are few better feelings than coming out of the cinema and reeling from the sheer insanity of what you've just seen, where your brain acts like it's just done leg day and is stumbling over itself trying to figure out what the hell happened. These moments are far and few between, but my god do we hold on to them. And I'm not talking about simple plot twists at the end of films like, the main star was dead all along, or, oh wow, the killer was this duck we saw in the first title sequence.
Violence or,
I'm talking about moments that nearly break your neck from how spun out they make you. With this in mind, I'm Jules for Whatculture.com, and here are 10 mind-bending thrillers that will melt your brain. Also, spoilers. Number 10, Enter the Void. After the visceral impact of Gaspar Noé's Irreversible, you know the scene I'm talking about. I won't show you, don't even Google it, don't even think about it. It was going to take a lot to live up to the mixture of visual exuberance and sheer brutality, but by God did Enter the Void give you something to digest. The film takes place largely inside the seedy nightclubs of Tokyo, following an American drug dealer by the name of Oscar, who in the opening reel ends up being fatally shot by the police. The remainder of the film takes place over just a few minutes of real time, as Oscar has an out-of-body experience while his life drains away, trawling through his memories and fantasies in a trippy phantasmagorical odyssey. With its graphic depiction of violent murder and a very creepy incest vibe throughout, this is a film without question that keeps you on your toes, ending with a harrowing sequence in which Oscar has a false memory of his own birth, complete with a joyously extensive visual of him travelling through his mother's birth canal in first-person view. Ouch to Oscar's mum, who now has to give birth to not only him but also a camera and crew. Unforgettable and disgusting in equal measures. Number 9, The Game. David Fincher's The Game is a tricky, twisting film that certainly keeps you guessing if nothing else. Wealthy investment banker Nicholas Van Alten lives a lonely life, and on his 48th birthday he's given a present by his brother Conrad. A game in which players are pushed to their physical and psychological limits. I don't know why I did all those air quotes. But yeah, they're involved in this game and they come to believe that their life is in real danger. At the end of the movie, Nicholas appears to commit suicide, leaping from a roof and crashing through some glass, though in fact he actually ends up landing on an airbag bigger than your mum's rack, as it's revealed the game was faked and his brother was in it the whole time.
A bunch of depraved children.
What? I hear you ask? That's stupid. I hear you. Follow, shush, don't question it. Just enjoy the feeling of your brain melting out of your ear. Number 8, Source Code. Source Code revolves around a US helicopter pilot named Captain Coulter Stevens, which is an absolutely stupid name, might as well have called him Captain Gunchops, who last remembers being in Afghanistan and then wakes up in a mysterious room. He's offered the chance to use some dodgy military tech called Source Code, which allows the user to relive 8 minutes of somebody else's life via an alternative timeline. Something I personally use to replay the moments of those who die in orgies. Coulter then enters the life of another ridiculous named Sean Fentress, who is a man aboard a train that explodes. Now Coulter Fentress has to find the bomber, but along the way he also falls in love. Good to see he's got his priorities right, and he also finds out that he died in Afghanistan and this is just his brain on life support. What the what? Wait, there's more! He also manages to end up existing in this alternative timeline. Laws of science be damned. A film for the art lovers out there, Trance tells the tale of a pair of men who steal a painting and then forget where they put it.
don't remember.
True, Simon, one of the guys who stole the art pieces, did get his bonce bash, which makes him forget, but he'd have done well to make a note of it somewhere safe. Like in the comments section of a Donald Trump rally video, as no one who watches those videos can read. Frank, the other lead, enlists a hypnotherapist called Elizabeth to help Simon remember. And in a practice that I hope that most hypnotherapists resist using, she ends up sleeping with both of them. And it's here that your brain flips its wig. Elizabeth tells Frank that Simon is her ex-husband and only stole the painting because he was deep in gambling debts. Okay. Then it turns out that Simon was actually hypnotized by Elizabeth to begin gambling in the first place to rack up the debts so that he'd have to steal the painting. Okay. Then it's revealed that Elizabeth now has the painting and kills Simon, and at the end, Frank is left as confused and alone as we are. Number 6. Videodrome. David Cronenberg and reality have not been in alignment since the day of his birth, and Lord knows I love him for it. This explosive thriller revolves around Max Wren, a TV executive who's disappointed with the flagging ratings of his network, and after being shown a Malaysian torture porn show called Videodrome, decides to commission similar fare for his own network. However, Max soon discovers that Videodrome is a kind of political message of sorts to allow TV to replace our everyday lives and the way we think. Max begins to hallucinate that his torso is becoming a VCR, and then he realizes he has a brain tumor thanks to the signal being given off by the show, so thanks for that I guess. Max ends up having a videotape inserted into his torso which brainwashes him into murdering his TV network colleagues, before being told that the only solution now is to leave the old flesh and abandon this world. At which point he sees a video of himself blowing his head off with a gun and then imitates it, uttering the final phrase, "Long live the new flesh." Upon watching the scene for the first time, I was actually so confused I put a fork in my eye. This is actually a true story and also why you should never eat while watching psychological body horror. Number 5. Memento. Memento tells the story of a man, and that man is Guy Pearce, and that man is very angry and forgetful after losing the ability to create new memories because he was beaten and his wife killed one fateful night. Sounds like the backstory to a terrible hero, like Past Man. His catchphrase would be like, "Who are you?" Anyway, the film is shown in reverse order, and it's fairly confusing, morphing between black and white sections which are meant to be the main character retelling the event, and colour scenes where we are actually seeing him investigate. After he kills the man who he thinks murdered his missus, we are treated to further exposition which shows that this is not the case. In fact, what happens is that Guy Pearce actually confused events of his own life with that of another person's, and that his own wife in fact survived the attack but died of an insulin overdose due to his amnesia. Good times. Number 4. The Usual Suspects. Bryan Singer's superbly twisted thriller follows the interrogation of crippled con-man Kevin Spacey, who is one of the 2 survivors of a mass murder aboard a boat. The film revolves around his testimony to a US customs agent, where he tells a wildly contrived, even confusing story about what caused him and 4 other criminals to end up on the boat that night and their shadowy, fearsome crime boss Kaiser Soze. The chicanery of this story is revealed as a smokescreen at the end of the movie when Spacey is let go, that he'd been fabricating this story all along, using various items pinned to a notice board behind him in order to come up with something so on the fly that Jeff Goldblum nearly sued. As you see Spacey flee the scene, all you can do is try to comprehend the brilliance of the flick, all the while your brain is turning itself into blancmange. Number 3. Fight Club. A rare movie that exceeds the book it's based on and allows us to see Jared Leto getting punched in the chops again and again. Ed Norton plays Jack, the narrator who suffers from insomnia. On a flight, he meets man-crush and fat snatcher Tyler Durden, aka Brad Pitt, and the 2 embark on zany adventures involving beating up people, gardening, and eventually taking down the world's financial district. As everything begins to get out of hand, we're smacked in the face with the unforgettable twist. Tyler Durden is Jack. They are the same person, and when Jack believes himself to be asleep, Tyler is in fact taking over. As Tyler plans to blow up a number of credit card buildings to set the debt record back to 0, Jack takes charge and shoots a hole through his own cheek, which convinces his mind that Tyler is dead and allows him to regain his sanity as the credit card buildings and the audience's mental facilities collapse. Number 2. Mulholland Drive. Okay, so I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I didn't really get Mulholland Drive. I mean, I know there are many ways to read it, and I know that David Lynch is an all-round top bloke, but I just didn't simply, Look, I was promised more lesbians than it delivered, okay? Okay? The story focuses on 2 women, Betty and Rita, who are trying to find out what happened to Rita after she suffered amnesia following a car accident. As the investigation goes on, Lynch treats us to a number of surreal sequences, including a movie director whose production is being controlled by the mob, a bungled series of assassinations, and a strange club called Silencio. Then things get super weird. After a blue key is put in a box, the story shifts, with Betty now becoming a failed actress called Diane Selwyn, who is obsessed with Rita, who is now an actress called Camilla Rhodes. When she realizes her love is rejected, she ends up shooting herself, bringing the balmy tale to an end. And the blue box just ends up in the hands of a homeless beast walking the streets. I mean, of course it does. I mean, just what the hell is going on? I'm just still gutted about the lack of lesbians. I'm a simple man. Number 1. Inception. Christopher Nolan's brain-bulging sci-fi follows the efforts of Dom Cobb as he tries to see his children again. Cobb is a dream infiltrator using military technology to enter people's dreams for the purpose of corporate espionage. And this last job in particular has Japanese businessman Saito asking him to influence a rival businessman to break up his company in the wake of his father's death. In return, Dom will be given safe passage back to the US so he can see his mop-haired kids. But as you can imagine, the daring dream caper goes tits up and it takes Cobb and his whole crew a long time to put it right. Where the brain bending comes in is through the idea of mental layers. The deeper you go, the more time slows down, but the more you risk turning your own brain into mush. Add to this an ex-wife who loves trains, whether or not Cobb is awake or dreaming most of these events, and you've got yourself a whole mental muddle. And that's the end of our list. If you want to share any other brain-bending films, then all you have to do is invade our dreams, give us a blue box and bring death to the new flesh, or just drop us a message in the comments below. And if you want to clamber into my cortex, you can do so here and here. If you enjoyed the video, then like, share and subscribe. I'm Jules for Whatculture.com, and I'll see you soon.